Okay, I got some things I'm going to run down for you here. Yesterday I did a live stream. I did a video before the live stream, and I showed you this here clip, and I laughed because people are so naive, people are so dumb. I mean, maybe they're just cowards, I don't know. But the problem we have is what's been going on forever. You turn your back when you don't want to believe something, even if it's in your face. You turn your back and you look the other way and you attack the messenger. And this is exactly what happened yesterday. As I did not say anything that wasn't put in my face, okay? When I said what I said about Mark Passio, and I said what I said, it's based on years of research and knowing what I'm seeing and knowing what's going on. And to tell me for 1 minute that Mark Passio doesn't know what I said is true would be completely insane. Okay, and I'm not the one that done this. I'm pointing out what Mark Passio said and done himself, not me. Okay? And all I'm doing is pointing that out. But this is going to be a whole lot deeper than just Mark. But I'm going to start off with Mark just because I understand that he has lots of followers. I understand he tells lots of truth. And I understand that you all want your hero to look up to. I've also said before that I have a lot in common with Mark Passio myself. But the difference between us is I'm Bill and he's Mark, and I won't sugarcoat anything, and I'm not working for the establishment. I'm not working for the powers to be that have done this to us. You can say, well, neither is he. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. Okay? And it's not my fault that he's told on himself. I didn't tell him to do this. He done this. This is not my word, so we'll replay this short little clip. Okay?
Oh, the talking heads of the media. I mean, could you imagine the place karmically that these, as Gerald Celente likes to call them, prostitutes are? You know? I mean, beautiful word for them. I mean, as David Icke calls them, the repeaters. They're the repeaters of the dark occultists behind government, blasting their worldview at humanity to mind control them. And could you imagine these immoral pieces of trash have taken that job for a paycheck, sold out their fellow brothers and sisters of humanity?
That's right. Everything he said right there is true. The problem is I'm going to fast forward now. The problem is coming up here as he blasts the hell out of the mainstream media. What he said right there was all truth. He didn't lie to anybody right there. Not at all. Okay? This is where he lied.
Our world. Now, the alternative media is, I believe, a different story. Now, other people will say, well, this spans a wide gamut, and I agree. Okay? They're not all the same. There are different people with different levels of understanding. But what I think the difference maker here is they are actively trying to do their best to bring people information that they think they need to know and do their best to report on it honestly and tell the truth like legitimate journalists.
Okay? And this is where he deceives you. And this is where you got mad at me for calling him out. Because to understand the real truth, then you need to understand if you've got any research behind you at all or any understanding to what's going on in society, then you'll understand. Even Mark Passio showed you from the top of the pyramid down, and so is David Icke, how the structure works. To believe that somehow the internet that was created by DARPA, okay, To believe that the internet is not being controlled like the mainstream media, like anything else by the powers that be at the top, is to be completely insane or in denial of the truth. Okay? Or not wanting to accept the truth. And that's not my stupidity. Okay? It really isn't. To understand that there's never been a left or a right, a Republican or Democrat, it seems lots of truthers have the ability to do that, right? They understand that it's all been a show. That there's never been two sides. One entity controlling everything and giving you the illusion of two sides to manipulate you into believing something that isn't true so that we don't have resistance, so that you go along with your own enslavement. Okay? And it's no different. Military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex has a branch off the military-industrial complex that they're calling the military media industrial complex. Okay, because from the top of the pyramid down, they're controlling everything, including the internet. It's not an accident that YouTube's originally owners, the real owners of YouTube, the people who created it, three guys, were taken to court and it was forcibly stolen from them. They were forced to sell YouTube. Forced by criminals. Hijacked at gunpoint. Oh, sure, they collected money, the tool, but not without a gun being held to their head first. Basically, that's what happened. Some thugs came along with guns, called themselves the justice system, put some guns to their head and said, you will sell or else. That's mafia tactics if you want to take over a business that somebody don't want to sell. This is what you do in society when somebody don't want to sell something you want. You have your thugs going and bully them and harass them and bully them and harass them. And if things come necessary, you put a gun to their head. And you justify it by giving them some money. How do you think Google got their hands on YouTube? That's exactly how Google got their hands on YouTube. Okay, so, and why would they go to all them streams to take ownership of YouTube? Because they owned and controlled all forms of media globally. The same entity, the same people, all forms. Newspapers, magazines, TV stations, radio stations, all major broadcasting systems was in the hands of the same people. And YouTube was the unforeseen media. And once it became as big as it did, they had to have it. They couldn't allow that to be in a private entity's hands. Because they need that, because that's a tool, a weapon, to be used against us, the people. When they got their hands on YouTube, they made the announcement they were going to turn it into a television set, which has been used for how many years now as a weapon against us, the people. To believe that they're going to allow you to have an alternative media that's going to be real journalists, not controlled by the powers to be, that will be able to tell you the real truth, uncensored, is a line of bullshit. And when you fall for that and believe in that, then you're going back to the Republican, the Democrat, believing in an illusion, a mirage, a hologram, something that's not real, to make yourself feel better. I'm not the one that done this. I only pointed out so-called obvious truth is right in your face. You can be mad at me all day long. I did not tell this man to slam the mainstream media and then come up and promote the mainstream media. That's right, slam the mainstream media. Slam them right there and then promote them. Slam them, promote them. Slam them, promote them. Slam them, promote them. You're going to say, no, he's not. He's promoting the alternative. Who has the exact same bosses. The exact same bosses as these guys. That's not a lie. That's fact. And this man knows it. Which means he deliberately deceived you. It was not me deceiving you. It was him deceiving you. And you got mad at me for calling that out. That's not my problem. That's yours. Okay? If you want to turn your head because you don't want to believe he done it when he done it right in your face, that's not my problem. That's your stupidity for being that ignorant. If you're going to be that dumb and that ignorant, that's not my problem, okay? Hey, it isn't that I don't like this guy. I've said a lot of good stuff about this guy because he's done a lot of great work, okay? He really has. And I'm not taking his great work and his truth away from him at all. I'm only pointing out something that's so obvious. That's so obvious, okay? This is how they get you. They put guys in really good position. That's one of the reasons I gave the name that I gave to this video what I gave it, okay? And it's a lot more than just the Vanosphere. It is psychological warfare. It really is. It's all mind games, man. It's psychological. This is how we brainwash entire generations. This is how we get you to willingly go along with your own enslavement. Okay, and this is exactly what's going on. No less, no short of it. That's exactly what's going on. And so now that we've gotten that part out of the way, there's something else I wanted to address here, okay? See, this guy here, we all know, right? He's been becoming big. He's been growing. He sure has. And he has a thing. He likes to talk about forever alone. He likes to talk about incels. Yeah. Forever alone, incel. Forever alone, incel. Forever alone, incel. He's very professionally spoken. He seems very honest, doesn't he? Yeah. He reminds me of me. Reminds me of Steve. Being brutally honest, right? But I'm going to place a little wager that he won't. And I hope he proves me wrong. Matter of fact, I'd love it if he proved me wrong. Because I sure want to be wrong about what I feel. I really do. But just the same, I'm going to say what I feel. Because my gut tells me to do this. And to do what's right here. Okay? And what I feel goes along with what I suspect. That goes along with my knowledge. That fits the name that I've given to this video. More psychological warfare. You know, mental health laws. Like the Huffington Post, where they did bring Steve Hogan's name up. And they talked about an incel guy who supposedly, in a fake event, in a staged event, in a rehearsal, ran over a bunch of people. Yes, and you got people that are going to argue with you and say they know it really happened, and they this and they that, and you always have this and you always will. You got people that are paid or just people that are ignorant that wants attention. I like to call them attention whores, attention sluts, who have no problem with coming up, and it's not a gender issue, okay? But has no problem with coming up and lying to you and me and saying that they witnessed or was there or seen something that they were never there, they never witnessed. That's right. For attention. Attention to me. Attention to me. Okay, unfortunately, we live in a very sick, twisted time. But let's go back to what this is, okay? I'm going to show you something first. And I want you to pay attention close. This guy reminds me of somebody. He reminds me of Reverend Michelle Hopkins. He's not speaking about God or Christian, no. But pay attention to the format. Pay attention to the way he speaks. The professionalism of his speech. How he presents himself and how he talks. Pay attention close now. Listen up. Watch. Listen where I'm taking you here. Reverend Michelle Hopkins. Very professionally spoken. That's right. Dutch sense. Oh no, I said Dutch sense, didn't I? I sure did. Very, very professionally spoken. That's right. Now, let's go here a moment. Okay, education requirements. What is this? Public addresses, okay, public addresses announcers typically need a high school diploma. Radio and television announcers typically need a bachelor's degree training, college. Okay? That's right, need a bachelor's degree in communications, broadcasting, or journalism. But some jobs only require a high school diploma. Training required. Public addresses systems and other announcers typically need short-term on-the-job training upon hired. This training allows these announcers to become familiar with the equipment. Okay? They will be using during a sports event, entertainment, or events. For sport public address announcers, training also include basic rules and information for the sports that they're covering. Now, I'm only giving you a little rundown here, okay? Because I want to tell you something, okay? Reverend Michelle Hopkins was a real fine example because she was just as professionally spoken as this guy, and she knew radars and how to read radars, and the cloud system and the jet stream system and everything to a T. Dutch sense. Very professionally spoken, just like this guy. Okay? Also knew radars and all the systems right to a T. This guy don't show you radars, right? No, he doesn't. But what does he do? I'll tell you what he does do. He has the same skill level as a professional announcer, as Dutch sense, as Reverend Michelle Hopkins, as, what did I show you at the beginning? Mainstream media reporters. That's right. He has the same skill level. He's had training in talking to the public. This is what I'm suggesting to you. He has training in talking to the public. This is why he's so professionally spoken. Now, I'm going to throw something in your way because I want you to understand this. The LGBT movement, the trans, lesbian, gay movement that's come on board, that's trumping over the top of the feminist movement now, and you got feminist women getting mad at transsexual men. Okay, the controversy there. David Icke is in a position himself where he's directly working with the globalist, and we're at the end stages of NWO, and he is telling you the real truth in so many areas like Mark Passio has. And David Icke has addressed some of this already, okay, that they want to do away with the genders. When you look into this and you look into the division, the breakdown of the family unit, and the war on the men and women, and the feminist movement, you look into the now lesbian, gay, transsexual movement thing that's going on here. And the 50-something genders, or 60 now, it keeps going up, right? That we have all of these genders, which you don't have, okay? When you look into this and you look into NWO, you realize the truth is in your face and that David Icke told you it. The end goal is to do away with genders completely. And all births, reprocreation, all newborns will be done in hatcheries controlled by the elite. Women will no longer be allowed to be pregnant and carry their own baby. And men won't be getting women pregnant, and we would do away with genders completely. Okay? That is the NWO plan. So now let's look at reality. With no lies being said, that is the NWO plan. How would you accomplish that? Well, wouldn't you have to first accomplish that through psychological warfare? Yeah. Okay, wouldn't you have to accomplish that through raising your consciousness? That's right. Through very crafty, skilled, psychological, mind-bending, mind-warping, twisting, manipulating, lying, propaganda to brainwash, to convince, so that your perception becomes, so that you believe in. Okay, do you follow where I'm going here? So we gave you 50-something, the last I heard, it may be up to 60 now, genders, which there's no such thing as that many genders, ever. Ever, okay? And we give you the gay, lesbian, transsexual, confusing people to their genders. We give you angry, frustrated men and women who are fighting one another, who are divided deliberately, long drawn out plan. Okay? And why would this guy be? See, he's speaking so much truth, right? No, let's think about something. In the Huffington Post, we used an INCEL guy as the villain. Okay? The INCEL guys are angry and bitter, and they show their anger. That is something they want to use as a tool. Now, part of social engineering is they don't want you to be angry no more. They want love and light, okay? But let's take a look at the INCEL. These guys are angry, okay, and their minds focused in voluntary celibacy and basically sex. Sex, okay? And they're very angry. They're so angry they're emotionally over the edge, which actually works out to their favor, the system's favor, okay? This guy's using a term called forever alone, which is the same thing as TFL. But he's not addressing true force loneliness. No, you don't never hear him bring up true force loneliness. Never. Ever will he bring up true force loneliness. He will talk about true force loneliness topics, and he will call it forever alone. Forever alone. Why would he be so willing to talk about INCEL and talk about their anger, talk about their issues, and then talk about TFL topics, calling it forever alone, and not acknowledge or address? I haven't heard him really speak about MGTOW, men going their own way too much. Okay? I haven't heard him really address that too much anyhow. And I don't ever hear him, never heard him once talk about TFL. Okay? But he sticks with forever alone. Now let's look at the common denominator. The common denominator, regardless of your INCEL, men going your own way, TFL, forever alone, love shy, and I mean the list of names goes on for the same problem. So if I drew a big circle and I wrote all these names in that big circle was the problem, and we got all these names talking about the same problem. But if I was the powers to be at the top and I was socially engineering, I want acceptance. I don't want resistance. I don't want resistors because resistors causes friction, and it's harder for me to get my plan off the ground if I get resistance. So I don't want resistors. What I want is compliance. So, and if I look at the groups, if I look at Men Going Their Own Way, which is a branch off of MRA, Men's Right Activists. Men's Right Activists came up here and they told you all about symptoms for years. And then Paul Elam passed it over to feminist women. And the feminist women took over the men's movement, which was a big joke, okay? Right in your face. So now you got women running a men's rights movement, okay? Which should never have happened in a billion years, okay? But it was planned that way. And MGTOW, Men Going Their Own Way, came from a man named Barbarossa, who was an MRAer, a men's rights activist, okay, who talked about symptoms. And he suggested men walking away from women. I think it was probably the best idea that could have ever happened if it was taken seriously. But see, the powers to be at the top of the pyramid, they understood this. That if men really took it seriously and walked away from women, that it would grab women's attention if enough men did it and make them stop and think. That would cause critical thinking skills to come out. Well, we couldn't have that because if critical thinking skills come out, you might see what's going on, figure it out for yourself, and then you'd be a resistor. You'd be against the establishment. They don't want that. Can't have that. So they took MGTOW and put it mainstream so that they could skew the definition of men going their own way and flip it upside down on its head to destroy MGTOW from within. Worked. They did a great job. You got all these bozo the clowns out here calling themselves men going their own way, and they're nothing more than Ronald McDonald's and bozos the clowns and, fantasy characters for entertainment. And they've done exactly that. They've destroyed men going their own way. Okay? But let's take a really closer look now. This guy right here. As I told you, he's very professionally spoken. He's got Forever Alone, INCEL, Forever Alone, INCEL, Forever Alone. Now hold on. See, True Force Loneliness, out of all the names we got, True Force Loneliness was the most honest. Because True Force Loneliness told you exactly what it was, that it was being forced onto the population. Against their will, forced. They don't like that phrase because, see, to say something's forced, even when it is, brings resistance. They don't want the resistance. Okay? So they cannot run with the truth. True Force Loneliness represents the actual real truth, not the lie. If I was going to be a great salesman and I was going to brainwash you and get you so frustrated, so confused, so angry, frustrated, and confused, and scared, so that you would go along, so that you would accept, I couldn't use a name like True Force Loneliness, but I could use a name Forever Alone. And I could sell that on you. Forever Alone. Because then it becomes something I can socially engineer you. Let me give you another example. We have David Icke. We have Mark Passio. We have a few other people online with lots of subscribers who are talking about you raising your consciousness to another dimension, to another level. And we're doing it in a good light to convince you. This is a great, I mean, it's one of the most fantastic sales pitches, gimmicks I've ever seen. But we've went way overboard. I mean, we got that guy I showed you already who says that before you was born, which means you haven't even been born yet, you don't exist yet, you ain't got a mommy yet because you're not born, right? That you entered into a contract. That's right, you signed a contract before you were born. Agreeing to, and then you was born. The most insane stuff you've ever heard in your life, because then later on they'll convince you that something they've done to you is your fault because you signed a contract before you were born. Because we're, as David Icke would say, man, we're living a illusion, a mirage. Because our brains decode things like a computer. When your eyeballs see something, it's a code. Like in digits, like on a computer. And it decodes it, and that becomes our reality. Because it's decoded, but because it has to be decoded, it's the only reason we see that. And if we change that decoding, we can make you see whatever we want you to see. Do you follow what they're doing here? This is like the greatest con job ever. It seriously is, okay? And why am I on this guy's page, and why am I showing you him? Because when I think about the NWO agenda and the divide and conquer strategy and everything that I've studied in the dating scene in NWO, from the feminist movement on, what we have is professionally spoken, somebody who's schooled. This guy's just like Dutch sense, like Rev. Michelle Hopkins. He's been to college. He's probably got a bachelor's degree. He probably done this somewhere else. You don't know who he is or what he done. You don't got no history on this guy. And if he's selling their agenda, because he's making lots of the tool, because that seems to be our new god today, is the tool, money. That's right. And he's selling their agenda for them, then he's here very professionally spoken because he's been trained to do what David Icke's doing, what Mark Pastor's doing, what everybody else is doing. Okay. He's to convince you. That's what this is about. He's going to sell you down the rabbit hole for the tool in his own pocket. Now, I want to be wrong about this guy. I really do. And I'm hoping I will be wrong about him. Okay, but the only thing I can say is this. It's going to be up to him to prove me wrong. And I will gladly go along with being wrong about him. And I'll be happy to be wrong about him. I really will. If what I feel in my gut's wrong, I'll be so happy to be wrong. But I have a sad feeling in my gut because my gut's telling me no. My gut's telling me this guy is here because he's been placed here. He's a lot like the speech David Icke's been giving, Mark Pastor's giving, the other guy's giving, and there's a reason he's not touching TFL at all. He's 100% talking about TFL topics without ever bringing up TFL and only using Forever Alone. Forever Alone. He's addressing incels. Incels, well, that's the entity they use for their stage show over in Canada. Yeah. Which they can use to lock down. Now, if it's what I'm thinking is going to happen here, they're not only going to sell this Forever Alone onto you and get you to accept the fact that you're never going to have gender in your life, a mate in your life, a wife in your life, guys, or children of your own, and that you women ain't never going to be with a guy to have children of your own. Okay, because it is part of the agenda, okay, for control of the population. For control of the population, population reduction, confusing the genders, and dropping it down to no genders, and controlling the births through hatcheries. Think about the stuff that's been put in the foods that's causing people to not be able to get females pregnant, or for the female not to be able to get pregnant. No accident, deliberately done. So my suggestion is this. My gut tells me to do it, so that's what I'm doing. And I want to be wrong. But this guy, probably most likely you won't ever hear him address TFL. You can bring up true force loneliness to you. He will see it in his comments and he will ignore it. 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 And then if he does bring it up, he might do a turd flinging monkey. And he'll give you a breakdown of all categories. And he will shame. And he will demonize INCEL and TFL. Why would he do that? Because we're going to sell you forever alone. Because that's a name that they can get down on and they can convince people that it's just human nature. Yep. It's female nature. It's male nature. It's Darwin theory. It's evolution. It's natural selection. Do you follow what I'm telling you? We can school you to believe in this. True forced loneliness suggests that it's forced, which it was. Which it was. Which was truth. But we can't have that because that'll cause resistance. We don't want resistance. We want compliance. So that's my suggestion for you. This is psychological warfare right in your face. To do away with the genders. The end stages of New World Order are playing out in your face right now. And you need some trained people that's sold out for the tool, that have the training to come up and present themselves very professionally, who these people, Google, will get behind and support. That's right, to sell themselves onto you, to sell you down the rabbit hole. And that's what I suggest this guy is. I want to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but my gut tells me differently. So since my gut tells me differently, and my knowledge from the years I've been doing this, and understanding the system and how it works, how do you think he called Mark Passio? And I didn't like calling Mark Passio. But I told you I'm not going to BS you. I'm not the one that done it. I didn't tell Mark Passio to do that. Okay, Mark Passio, as an agent, has to go along with what they want. Because the tool, because he's being controlled. So he does as they want. But unfortunately, to understand the truth is to know that alternative media, mainstream media are controlled by the same entity, military industrial complex, military media industrial complex, right on down the pyramid. Same bosses, powers to be, as everybody else. Two sides for the illusion that you have people fighting back when you don't. It's for the fraudulent scam. And I suggest this guy's, because of my gut feeling, is our newest plant. into the manosphere. Okay, and he fits the role. He fits the character. He really does. His speaking skills are that of somebody who's been trained, that's done this for a living. Yeah. And he don't address TFL at all. I haven't heard him address TFL. Please point to that if you have seen him actually talk about true force loneliness. I've watched quite a few of his videos and I haven't heard it once. I don't even really hear him addressing men going their own way, but he don't got to. They've already destroyed themselves. He can leave that as it is. That's already messed up. That's gone. It's over with. Destroyed. That's the reason mainstream media ran with it. Was to destroy it. Okay? This guy's here to finish off the NWO plan. He wants to sell you Forever Alone. It's like selling you the contract that you entered into a contract and signed it before you were born. It's the same thing. It's the raising of your consciousness, right? It's the hologram. It's the illusion, right? No. It's some very, very well thought out, slick con job, psychological warfare that's going on right now for social engineering. And this is directly directed at the manosphere. I told you the manosphere was under attack. We're in the end stages now. We need to sell you Forever Alone because the end goal is to do away with genders. This is why we're going to give you sex bots that will not reproduce. That's right. That's why we're making these sex bots. Control the population. There's nothing more I can say about it. But there it is in your face. And this is what I suspect. I want to be wrong. Okay? I'd love to be wrong. And only this guy can prove me wrong. But if he's who I think he is and doing what my gut tells me is, he will never prove me wrong. Because he won't be able to prove me wrong. Because he'll have to follow the orders of his bosses, who ain't going to let him acknowledge me. Or Steve Hoka. And if he acknowledges Steve Hoka, look out, later on it'll be used to demonize him. To put him in the same spot as INCEL. To be able to take rights away from him for speaking out. To be able to punish him for telling the truth. No. And I won't go down that rabbit hole with him. I won't. I'm not going to sell out. You can't buy me out. You may have bought this guy out, but you're not buying me out. And if I'm wrong, then let it be. But I had to say that. With that being said, I'm going to get out of here. Okay, but I wanted to bring up what I wanted to bring up. You all have a good